Good. Oh, look at that. Everyone's talking. I like it. Well, my name, like she said, is Miranda Joiner. Just a brief introduction of who I am. I'm a former radio personality. I do podcasting. I'm an author and a speaker. And more recently, I founded an organization called Succeed and Elevate, where we work with small business owners, helping them with, essentially, when you look at it, it's mental and emotional well-being, because as small business owners and startups, who isn't stressed and burnt out and overwhelmed? Okay, if you are, just blink at me, okay? Okay, well, there we go. So most people are, and so that's what we work with. We create safe spaces for them. And today we're in here to talk about product market fit. Really excited with these gentlemen. They're so funny. I want to call them the Three Stooges because they're hilarious. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's very complimentary.
Just very complimentary. Well, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. The joke was pushy enough now, Dee, so don't push it there. I want to stay friends with these guys. But no, it's going to be a really fun laid-back panel. And whereas my energy is to incorporate and infuse Q&A in between the conversation. So we'll probably go back and forth instead of saving it to the end. But I'll be facilitating this conversation as we get started. I want to jump right into it for the sake of time. I know people love bios, and I think originally you guys are, no doubt we don't love bios. Originally, I was going to let them do it, but I really do want to read a brief description of these gentlemen bios, because I want you to know also, in addition to being the Three Stooges, how well equipped these gentlemen are to have this conversation. So I think that's important too as well. Tim's bio is the longest in text message, which is how I got it today. All right, so. He did, so I did. So here we have Bryan Carter, who is the CEO of ThinkWebStore. Then we have Darryl Peroni with Keller Williams Realty. And then we have Tim Mask, who is the president of MWB. So let's start with Bryan. He is the CEO, as I said, of Think Creative Intelligence. ThinkWebStore is a creative consulting, design, and production agency located in Ridgeland, Mississippi. As a leader in design, the marketing and technology companies, Carter has participated in and grown award-winning teams and has multiple publications, and has been an invested and presenter at national conferences. He has had the benefit of working with international companies such as IBM, AT&T, NCR in media, interactive learning, and organization development. He has served as a consultant for multiple companies, including Home Depot, IBM, ETS, and Citigroup. Did I say it right? Citigroup? Citigroup. Oh, my bad. Okay. Citigroup. In the areas of e-commerce, e-learning, and e-business transformation. So welcome, Bryan. Darryl has served as the CEO for Keller Williams Realty in Central and North Mississippi, where he focuses his attention on training, consulting, productivity, and profitability for the market center. He has been with Keller Williams. He joined them in 2022 with over 25 years of experience in client consulting, digital marketing, startups, operations, and management service for both global and regional companies. He has spent his entire career in business development consulting roles for Fortune 500 companies, including Allstate, DXC Technology, and Broadcom. He has worked with a gamut of clients such as IBM as well, Mayo Clinic, AutoZone, Match.com, Quest, Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, and just to name a few. So his bio is a lot longer, but I want to get to the meat of this, and so please welcome Darryl. And then to my text bio, Tim Mask is the president and CEO of MWB, a creative content company specializing in marketing, advertising, and media production. Tim is a member of the executive board of the Greater Jackson Chamber of Commerce and alumni speaker of TEDx Wyndham and TEDx. He works with a number of economic development clients across the greater Southeast. So please welcome these gentlemen to the stage as we begin to talk about product market fit. Short bios are very good. I love a good story outside of telling bios, because typically when we read off the bio, People will remember certain things, but people resonate with stories. And so, gentlemen, to start this off, before we get into defining and opening up about what product market fit is, I would like each of you tell us something about you that, just one really brief thing about you that you feel like we should know of importance.
Go ahead, Darryl.
That's a hard one.
That was
Man.
not on the question list I sent you. You're correct.
Was that on the question list?
No.
Can we
No,
tell you
so-
one important thing about somebody else?
One important thing about me, that's a hard one because I don't like to talk about myself.
I know. That's why I like to ask that question.
So I'm a guy that a lot of people don't know that I actually grew up in Arkansas and went to high school in Mississippi. And so I'm a cross-border guy, so a lot of people don't realize about me. So, but that didn't apply to business, but yes.
No, that's good. That's good. That's actually what I wanted.
Mine would be I've never actually had a real job. I've been with my current company, MWB, since 1999. And before that, I actually taught tennis lessons. So I don't really consider either of those actual work. What I do now is very productive, but it's also very fun. So I feel really blessed in that.
So I always thought Tim had a real job because I worked with him before.
You should know then.
Yeah. So I guess I had a real job too, I hope. Instead, I'm going to tell you a fact about Tim. So Tim has a
I feel
collection.
like my chair should be higher.
There's a short person up here. Tim has a collection of handmade sailboats, like big boats. They're really cool. They're like the old school kind, and they don't date them at all. They're fantastic. That's my fact about you.
Thanks, Brian.
That's a cheat, Bryan, but we'll let you roll with that. One of the beautiful things I think about relatability as we shift into this conversation of product market fit is that the relatability to these gentlemen as you talk and understanding who they are and how a lot alike we are in this space of startup and business world. We're really humans first, and then we're business people. I do want to ask, who do we have in the room in this conversation about product market fit? Do we have product managers? Do we have founders in here? Kind of just yell out what your title is. What would that be? Founder. Anybody that's not a founder? Creative director. Anyone else that doesn't fit in one of those categories? Student. Intellectual property officer. All right. Investor. Okay, good. Anyone else? All right. Another quick question for the audience. What would you like to, sitting in this space, what would you like to get from this conversation about product market fit? Really briefly. How to bring businesses. Maximizing revenue. Properly assessing the market and what is needing, and then a point to second that. Got it. Okay, good. Develop a workforce. Okay, all right, good. So, very sneakily, one of the things that I think I just did right now is really assessing who our consumer base is, right? And then finding out what your problem is or what your need is. And as we shift into this conversation about product market fit, one of the things that most people don't do, in its simplest form, what it is it is the solutions around your consumer. So it's identifying who you're helping and then what is their problem and their need, and then how do we figure out how to resolve that problem. So gentlemen, let's jump into this conversation, because one of the bigger things around the product market fit is that most people start with an idea and then they go full steam ahead of trying to create and build a company. And they're going, and it's like, I have to do a team. I have to, get all my admin stuff, and I need a board member, and I have to do due diligence. And then the product is just over here sitting going, hey, but you need to work on me and how I connect. So one of the first questions I want to ask, in thinking about the mindset of that, in the space that we don't move forward with testing the product, what would you say is the importance of the mindset of I want to learn and make mistakes, or I think I know everything as a business owner? How important is that to assess, and what are your thoughts about the mindset as you move into trying to assess your product with your market?
It's huge. Mindset is everything. So we'll just start with number one. As an entrepreneur, when you have an idea, you're very enthusiastic. So you're excited about your product, you're excited about your idea, but what have you really done from a customer discovery and a validation standpoint? So your mindset going to making sure you have a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. So always refer back to Carol DeWitt, who wrote the book, Mindset, the Psychology of Success. She talks about it doesn't matter if you're a coach, parent, athlete, whatever it is, but she brought to my attention after watching Groundhog Day. How many people have seen Groundhog Day? Okay, so Bill Murray, what does he do, right? He has the I have to instead of I get to mindset, and he's got the affection for someone, but he goes through this cycle of living this day over and over again, right? Because he hasn't changed his mindset. What does he do? He finally figures it out like, hey, I have all this time. Instead of sitting here getting frustrated and actually trying to kill myself, he goes, I'm going to self-master, which is very important to self-master pieces of your business. I'm going to self-master the art of playing the piano, to sculpting ice, to helping people, with gratitude. So the big piece is once he found that mindset, his spell was released. So it's very, very important you get caught up in the moment, in the enthusiastic, but you're not really thinking about, hey, I've really got to validate my product. I've really got to go out and do the hard work and do the details to find out if where I'm going is going to be a viable product.
Yeah, let me follow up on that too, and kind of related, but a little different direction. So my youngest son is in 7th grade this year, and he's obsessed with football. And he went out for the football team, and in 7th grade, they don't cut anybody from the football team. So there's 1 billion kids on the 7th grade football team, which is fine. But I think he started the year, and his mindset was, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to throw the rock around like I do with my buddies in the street. And he quickly found out that he had to shift that mindset to put in the work. I think the coach straight up said, you guys got to put in the work if you want good things to happen. And so I think that's an important mindset that we as whether we be entrepreneurs, business people, whatever our occupation or underlying product may be, we need to have that mindset that you're going to have to put in the work. You're going to have to do the stuff that's not fun. And I think that's where we tend to jump the gun a lot, is because we're like Miranda said, and I think this is a good theme for this entire session. We're humans first. We're founders second. We're investors second. We're business people second. We're customers second. We're consumers second. We're people first. And we're going to gravitate toward what we want to do versus what we have to do. And I just think we need to make sure, and I'm telling myself this as much as anybody else in the room, that we need to make sure that our mindset is straight to understand that even though what we're doing overall is going to be fun, it's going to be exciting, that we've still got to put in the work, and we've got to do the stuff that's not that great.
I'll add one, and it's a little more critical actually of the process, but especially for founders. You have an idea, great idea, fantastic idea. It doesn't make a company. It does not make a company. In fact, if you look at it, you have great ideas that have bad companies behind them. You'll never see the idea. It doesn't reach a lot of day. You can have a bad product with a good company, and it can succeed, right? I mean, we've all bought bad products. Pet Rock. Yep. Okay, that was a good product. But but the thing is, and just a little different perspective, you don't have to be all things. Okay, I mean, we step up, we're a founder, we have the idea, and now we're CEO, and we're going to run this company. You may not be the best CEO. You might be the best inventor of ideas. So you can either take on the mantle of doing these things that you might not be best at, or you can partner with somebody who can take you the rest of the way and take the pressure off. You know, it's a choice. But always remember, an idea is not a company. And you'll hear that over and over in all different ways from all different people here.
Oh, that's very good. I agree. All of those points are very valid points in thinking about the mindset and doing the internal work, because we jump to the exterior work and not realizing that if we don't work on the internal, the mindset where we position ourselves, then we start to tinker out and the longevity doesn't last, or we're spinning. So when we think about the pyramid of product market fit, there's a book called The Lean Product Playbook. And they kind of map it out, the pyramid of saying, this is the pyramid. So at the bottom, who is the customer? So thinking about your product and how you're testing it up, or your service, who is the customer or the consumer? What is their need is the next level, and the problem that you're resolving. Then what is your value proposition? What is your unique position? What makes you stand out? What makes you different? How good are you at doing your job that differentiates you from the rest? And then the feature set. What is the functionality that you need to build and deliver this product? How does it move, and how does it benefit them and with the solution? And then the last one is the user experience design. Once you've tested all these things, found your market, tested it out on them, and then the user experience design, bringing it to life, the consumer experience. Why is it that you think that so many people start with the user experience and jump and skip? What is the mental hang up? Before we start getting into the tools and breaking down things they can actually do to do it, I want to deal with the thought process here, right? So what do you think is the barrier for most people when it comes to testing out a product on an audience? Is it fear of looking crazy, fear of failure? Is it wanting to be a know-it-all and having to have all the answers? What would you chop it up to in the beginning as the reason people skip that step?
First, I don't think they start with user experience. I think they start with the product. They figure features, all these things, and they say, yes, we're going to have a good user experience. They just assume the user experience. The other thing is, when you're looking at your product, we get very product focused, but you can derive almost all of your strategy if you just look at the audience and the problem you're solving. A lot of things fall into place. And by the way, don't lose that any time during the process. You're going to pivot and pivot. You always need to pivot on what is the problem I'm solving, and how am I doing that in a very solid way. Yes, it might be different than other people. It should be, because you found a problem that's not being solved. So even on the differentiation side, agencies and marketing people always say, well, let's find your differentiator. You should have found it when you solved the problem. It should be there. If not, you got to think back, because you basically you got to build, when you're building your product and your company, you got to start with the product. You have to have a solid product, so it has to solve a problem. Step 2 is fulfillment. How do you get that product to people? So that includes your customer service, includes all your fulfillment stuff. And the third thing is, now how do you tell people about it? Which is stuff we like to talk about.
Yeah, and in that, when you're talking about solving the problem, part of that is just telling people, giving people the story of how that benefits whoever your end user may be, and doing that in an effective way. What I've found in working with product developers, not just startups, any kind of product development within, it can be Fortune 1000 companies, that the people that are developing the product are very much focused on the features of whatever that product may be. It does this, it does this, it does this, it costs this, because that's what they develop. That's where their passion is. But as a consumer, I don't care as much. I care, like, what is that going to do for me? How does that benefit me? How does that solve some of my basic, again, human needs? Does it give me increased status? Does it make my life easier? Does it lend a peace of mind? Does it make me economically more feasible? So what are those kind of core benefits, whatever problem you've solved and product you've developed to solve that problem? How do you communicate the benefits first? I always say communicate the benefits first, because that's what people latch onto, and then use the features as bullet points to support. This is why you get this benefit from this.
Yeah. We all buy an emotion. Mm-hmm. All buy an emotion. You bought a new car, you're going to tell me all the reasons why it was the right choice. Those are the bullets. Yep. But you bought it because you wanted it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's a constant loop. Remember, it's a constant feedback loop. So the more feedback you're getting back from your customers, being agile and adaptable, you're adapting constantly. If you're not agile and adaptive, you're not going to be successful. So remember, when you're getting that feedback, it's constant. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So it's a constant process.
And on the UX thing, user experience piece, I think we kind of glossed past that. I didn't mean to.
No, you're
That's
good.
crazy important.
Yeah.
It's just separate. It's just not. It's not that we focus on that first. But we need to come back and focus on that because that customer journey. I think we all do journey maps and all the things. That is critical. That's how the product gets sold. But it depends. You just got to focus on that problem first, though. What problem you're solving? Everything kind of locks in place after that.
So what I'm hearing is foundationally what's important is understanding who you're serving, what is the problem you resolve, and really thinking about the emotional impact or how do you change their lives with that particular product, correct? A lot of my clients that I worked with, when I asked them, what is the impact that you want to make in this world with the work you do or through the product that you use, a lot of times they kind of pause and are looking at me like a deer caught in headlights. Like, what do you mean? This is just, people should just want it. And a lot of people don't think about how this service or product is changing the person that is consuming it, how it's changing their lives or affecting their lives, because that is what drives, as you said, our emotional, intelligence, and the emotional part of our brain dictates our behavior, which is why we spend based on how we feel, right? And so one of the things I think is I wanted to ask as we get into this whole idea of the tools and things that we use, let me pause here. Does anyone have any questions before I ask about their shift into how they did this in their business? Are there any questions we have?
Segmentation of market.
The segmentation of market?
Yeah.
Elaborate. Give me a question. Give it to me in the form of a question.
How would you go about segmenting your market to deliver the most impact?
Segmenting your market to deliver the most impact. That's a very good question. Let's answer that, and then I'll loop back to my question. How would you go into segmenting your market to deliver the most impact? Like, how do you decide?
I think, first of all, to realize that not all segments may be valid. I think is step one. You can spend a lot of time not getting traction on what you perceive may be a fairly big market for your product.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important point. And then to kind of go beyond that to what segments do make sense, I would look at what the profile of that audience is, and does whatever your service, whatever the benefit you're offering, does it match with what their lifestyle looks like? What does the end consumer, not even in the space that you may be offering something in. What are some of the other brands? What are some of the other media consumption habits? What are some of their leisure activities? What typical types of jobs do these types of people have? What do they value most?
Yeah.
What do they value most? Is it work? Is it family? Is it vacations? And that sounds like a simplistic way, but then matching that, doing an overlay with that with your product.
Yeah.
Well, this is what this product offers. So this segment and this lookalike segment and this lookalike segment then make the most sense. It's a really general way to answer that, but that's where to start.
It saves a lot of time, too.
And I'll add to that, again, whatever those segments are, what's the problem you're solving? Bring it back to the problem, because it's very easy not to have that.
Yeah.
But I think one of the most valuable things about segmenting your market, quite honestly, is it stops all the circular conversations. It locks you in, so you actually have a thing to measure. We do this not just with that. We'll take a project and find out how much impact it has and how much it costs. We'll have all these different things. We'll actually weight them, because you end up in this middle area where everything just talks in circles. Hey, we like to do this thing because of this. Yeah, but we like to do this thing because of this. But you end up coming back to the first thing. Yeah, but the first thing we did because of this. And it just goes in circles. You got to break things apart. So one of the hugest benefits of segmenting, not just markets but other things, is you stop the circular conversations, and it's now we decided to do this because of this. Done. And this was more important because of this. So, which was what Tim was talking about in terms of prioritizing those segments and figuring out which ones actually work. And not coming back to that that circle that is horrible time waster.
Yeah. Question for you: in your business, when thinking about how you assessed your market and made the decision about that informed you and your products, or maybe caused you to have pivots, because if anything, I understand pivots because I'm currently in the middle of a very uncomfortable pivot in my business and brand, right? And it was completely informed by the work that I was doing with my audience, right? And so I went in thinking, oh, this is the thing that they need, and then we saw another problem, and so there was a shift that had to be made, right? For you all in your business, can you walk me through what that looked like when you had that moment? Like, what did you do? And then what did you notice that was different? And then what did that engagement with that audience or that market inform you? And then what was the next step for you going back to your business? How did you make those shifts in your business?
Like a personal story about my business. Okay. So this was several years ago. I'd say about maybe close to a decade now. We looked at a few different things, and we were kind of at a crossroads in our company at this time. So we looked at realistically what did the market for us look like, right? We are, no surprise to anybody in this room, it's really hard for a Mississippi-based company, especially an advertising agency, to go much far afield and be able to bring in a lot of client work. So realization number one. Realization number two, we looked at where we had success on our roster list of partner clients. And what we didn't find was a lot of product goods. What we didn't find was a lot of retail. What we found was a lot of work with nonprofit organizations, with government entities, or with other institutions that provided some kind of societal benefit, be that education, be that public health, be that economic development, travel and tourism, healthcare, those types of things. So we thought, if this is where we've been catching traction, let's double down on that, or let's triple down on that. So went through an entire rebrand with our company to where we were no longer Maris Weston Baker. I don't even remember what we were, an integrated advertising solutions communications company. I don't even know what that means.
Ooh, that's a lot.
So, yeah, I don't even know what it means.
Okay.
So we rebranded and made our slogan really simple: we create for good. And that got in the fact that we are a creative company, not just an advertising agency, but we are a creative company, and we focus on brands and partnerships that are going to have some type of impact within communities or society or economies. That's just a personal story about how that affected our own firm.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And so my question is just a follow-up question to that. So once you discovered that there was the rebranding thought of who you're targeting and what you're doing, what was the first step for you? Was it restructuring how you dealt with your clients? Did you all create a different system, or was it solely for you how you were branding and marketing your organization to the audience?
It was more so how we were marketing ourselves to the audience, but also coming to the realization, talk about market segmentation, to stop chasing everything. Stop chasing everything that would come across your desk when you've got, why am I going to spend 100% of my time on something I have a 10% chance of actually being competitive for, when I can spend 100% of my time on something that I have a 45% chance? So it really informed the development side of it. I guess you could call that customer acquisition in your language. It informed the customer acquisition side more so.
Darryl, did you have something?
Yeah, well, one thing that we did, one startup I was working with was Edge Theory, and we were big when we first launched in B2B. So we're going out big brands, Match.com, Mayo Clinic, New Orleans Saints, whoever it was, and we're providing content from them. What we realized was we need more and more people. We can't scale the content the way we need to. So we reassessed the market and started saying, hey, there's a B2C market out there that we can attack, but let's find out which ones are more viable than the other ones. And one that we found was the health and wellness industry and the real estate industry. So one thing that we did, we actually just went to some conventions. We'd go to like a Juice Plus or Herbalife, and we started talking about our product. And they're like, oh, this is great. We're running teams. We'd love to have something like this. So immediately we completely shifted, built an online platform, and changed it to B2C and just turned completely into a SaaS product. We're selling just content as a service, $10, $20, $50 $100, and that changed the scale, the course of the company at the time.
And I'd like to support Tim here because now MWB is known for doing the things that you chased. So, success story in turning. And we're in the middle of, we were ThinkWebStore, which we had both introductions today. Think Creative Intelligence now, but we're in the middle of a shift right now. So, and look, you asked about the uncomfortable shifts, uncomfortable pivots. Is there any other kind? No. Right?
No, it's not. It's like giving birth.
Yeah.
Do you understand what that's like?
Okay,
All right.
No.
It's
No,
very
I don't.
difficult.
No, I understand.
Can't even joke about that.
Especially when you
So,
go to the board and you're sinking in the valley of death.
Yeah, there you
it's
go.
like,
But but for us, I mean, we found the other thing with our company, which is products were good for us. Taking a founder from an idea and doing the business coaching and getting the things in place to set them up for success and augment those places and also make the founder feel, again, like it's okay. You don't have to be everything. And we find some founders who still want to be everything. That would be great if they were good at everything. Not so great when they're not. But you find the ones that you can actually have impact with and take them through the whole journey. And then we bring in new services. We bring in, we market it differently. So it's all those pieces. But when we're doing it, coming back, what problem are we solving?
Yeah. I think for a lot of businesses, and blink at me and nod your head if this is correct, we just want to know that it's going to work, right? Okay, yeah. And I think that's everybody's fear. Like, if I do this thing, is it going to work? What's the assurance of that? Or is that false? What's your advice to that, really briefly and concisely, as we wrap up this conversation?
Well, one thing is, good ideas can turn out to be the worst, and bad ideas can turn out to be great. And if I ask 12 founders in here their ideas on a hypothesis I'm fixing to run, I'll probably get 12 different scenarios. So it's very, very important to put a system in place where you're, let's go back to the lean strategy, lean startup, build, measure, learn. Well, you need to know, you always need to be measuring. Sure. You got to plug in the right data analytics. You got to plug in the right, am I creating the right landing pages? Am I attracting the right audience? It's just a constant, repetitive loop that there is no right or wrong answer. You've got to get out there and just start testing all the time, and you'll hit it. You'll hit.
Yeah.
And by the way, pivoting is a way of life. Mm-hmm. It's not a moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
No, you pivot all the time. Now, sometimes something catches up with you weren't paying attention to, and then you got a big pivot.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I pivot every day. I get dressed. I put on a shirt and it doesn't work, and then I pivot to another shirt. And so you're absolutely right. It is a way of life, depending on how much food I ate the day before. We have questions in the back. I want to ask do a couple of questions.
Quick question. I totally agree with something y'all said about sometimes founders don't make good CEOs. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. They're usually the last ones to figure that out. Sometimes it's too late.
Sure.
What is some advice that you guys had to give to the guy, and he's sitting there holding all the IP, or he thought it up, or whatever, and you're like, this ain't working as a practically speaking business, and so you got to move out of the way and get some guy who knows how to sell things.
Sure.
Some guy who knows what's a good line to work on that.
Yeah.
That you've used in the past.
You founder are too brilliant to be bogged down
Come on, marketing. Come on.
in the day-to-day admin of this
Wait.
business. You should. Your time is better spent further developing your product. Let somebody else with a specialty handle that.
My gosh.
Yeah, that's right.
That's good.
And finding the right person is key. It really is.
Sure.
You have to find the right person. If you're the founder who's the developer, you've got to have a strong sales and marketing person.
Yeah.
And it's not convincing people, it's helping people.
Yeah.
So you got to have that mentality when you're coming out and finding that right, person from that standpoint.
We're a lot more blunt, but I like the pivot. That was very nice.
Yeah, that is a
That
very
was,
nice.
you need to talk to Tim if you need that.
If
pivot.
you
On
need that.
pivoting.
The email. I'm sorry. Go
But
ahead.
we approach it from what does success look like,
Yeah, that's good.
and we all agree on this, by the way. Any of us could talk about that. But what does success look like? And then you project that person into that space, and then you can reverse engineer what that looks like, and you can be very honest about the pieces and parts, But the person has to psychologically be able to step down, and it's not going to happen in a snap. But you got to plant those seeds and let them know, here's success. What are all the things that are happening? Which part are you involved in? And don't get them to answer right away. let them mull over that for a little bit, and then get them to come back, because they will come back after they've put some thought into it. And there is a migration that happens, but you got to be honest. I mean, it's here, and it's a role. And that's a big mistake. Everybody makes in careers, they think, oh, I'm going to move up the ladder and this and that. Well, I can tell you right now that Tim looks at the person at the front desk as a critical role.
Absolutely.
A critical role in the company, even though that person might think, well, I'm low on the totem pole. No, every role is critical.
Yep.
If you look at it like an army, the general is no more important than the private. And you got to have both. And by the way, if the private acts like a general or the general acts like a private, you got a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those roles are important. And once you get someone to objectively understand that, it starts to break down a lot better.
That's
Hayes,
good.
let me just real quick. The other direction
Real
on what
quick.
I said from the ego stroke, you've probably heard this before. A lot of y'all have, and I may not get it exactly right, but there's a story that Jim Barksdale tells about his time at Netscape, when he actually came in and locked out all the developers, locked them out of the building, so the business people could get stuff done and get the company straight. It's kind of
wow.
a famous story that he tells. But that's the other direction: is lock them out, is lock them out of the building.
That's extreme. One left or right. There's a book called The E-Myth that breaks down the different types of mindsets to have. There's the doer, there's the manager, and the visionary, and thinking about where you fall in that. It'll really help you to place yourself and then to surround yourself with what you're not. Yes, ma'am, you had a question. I know we have to wrap up a little bit. Go ahead. No, you're good.
That really quickly. I totally, from life experience, know that as a founder, that I am not the best CEO.
Sure.
Tell you,
Sure.
But I'm having to play that role for a little while.
Sure.
Until I'm at a place where I can hire a CEO.
Yeah.
So you guys have some resources that you would recommend us to access, or a place to go for that time, that bridge, when you're crossing that bridge that every company.
First, congratulations.
Yeah.
Big bridge, right?
Yeah.
And understanding that you're not the best person to be it is the first one. Not wanting to be it is the big jump. Is the big jump. I think if you go out and seek out a CEO, it's probably not going to be as challenging as you might expect, because there are a lot of CEOs that just want to run a business. But you have to start matching up exactly what it is that means. So you have come miles in your journey to be able to carve that space out and have the things that you want to match up with what you need to do.
Yeah, that's true. And it's not simple, because culture is a big piece of that. So you got to find the right person who's going to build the right culture, because it starts with culture. And you have to be really thoughtful. You need to have, that leader needs to come in and have gratitude, humility, and it's just a big ongoing process. But there is a person out there who can come in. Because I was put in that situation just recently when I came into Keller Williams Realty. I've been in software for 35 years. Well, their operating partners were looking for somebody to come in and run the company. It was just declining. Culture was bad. And I came in there with a totally different perspective to, reignite the group, which we're the largest brokerage in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And we're changing that, and we're putting new stuff in place to go out and help people, create a good culture, but also brand themselves. Branding is a big piece of the real estate industry, because it's a contact sport.
Yeah.
It's a contact sport.
That's good. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for that. Please give the gentleman a round of applause. So that was our final closing. And at the end of this, the supporting ministers will be down here to answer any product market questions you have at the altar. So they're going to stand here. And so if you did not get your question answered, I'm going to make these gentlemen stand here, and you can walk up on them and stand in line like at the pastor's church and answer those questions, ask them the questions.
We do have a drawing.
Oh, we do have a drawing. Yes, we have a drawing.
Let me pass this out real fast.
Oh, look at there.
Pledge for participating.
Look at this.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Some Mississippi popcorn.
Yay!
Yes. And then Miranda, would you do the honor?
Oh, gosh, I get in trouble for this. Okay, sure. I'll do this. Okay. John Gomez, president of DP, Downtown Jackson Partners.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. The ministers will be down at the altar if you all would like to come ask them your questions that didn't get asked during the service. Thank you all.